I hope everybody else is turning a little bit. I see a lot of folks. Do I not have the audio on? Hello?
Hey, Eddie. Eddie, you
Hey,
got something?
Sue, how you doing, babe?
I'm doing great. How you doing, baby?
I'm
Listen,
all ready.
you're getting something about 40 inches long or so in the mail next week. So just keep an eye for it.
Baseball bat. All right.
Okay, cool. It's
Thank
ribbon,
you, Sue.
it's ribbon mahogany.
Ribbon mahogany. I love that. I love it. It's got such true chatoyance and flake in it. It really does.
Oh, it's pretty stuff. But
Yeah.
when you get done with that cane, I want to see it.
Oh, yeah, I will. Oh, trust me, I will brag on that cane. I'm working on my lathe. I did a little work this afternoon, turning a little something. And the handle on my, pardon?
I said that's wonderful.
The handle on my, tailstock, it got knocked off when we were moving the lathe in the house. And I do know if you bend tool steel and you try to bend it back, you probably fractured it and it's going to quit. So I got a bolt. Dane helped me get a bolt from the bolt warehouse or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I got it in last week and I thought, well, I just tapped this other piece out that's still in there. Whew. Nothing moved. I mean, nothing. I got about a quarter of a turn and it stopped.
Wow.
So I decided, well, I'll just drill the other side. It is cast stainless. Drilling on the machine with a pistol drill did not work. I had to take it over to the big boy and put a little meat on it, and that helped. Donald, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
He carries his blankie around with him like a little security blanket.
Okay. Somebody says today's Tuesday. Boy, y'all drive me crazy on this.
Hey, Eddie.
Hey, Kate, how you
Yes,
doing?
sir. I saw you and that baby out in the snow.
Pretty good. How are you, Andy? Yeah, it was fun in the
Clawing
snow.
hot. We're getting freezing rain tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. We're getting that right now. We're supposed to get snow tomorrow and the next day.
Yeah. You're supposed to
Fun.
get rain, turn
Tell
into
you what,
ice, and then 9 inches of snow on top of that, maybe. So I
Oh,
don't know if I'm
nice.
driving or what.
That'll be fun. You'll have to
we're all
build a
fighting for
snowman.
weather.
First one just finally melted. We didn't get snow until January down there.
I think we're all fighting the weather. It was 72 degrees and rainy here today. Man, bummer. Wait for Billy Dillon.
72 and rainy. I think Kate got to invite Captain Eddie and Ronnie up to his place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think Ronnie might have went out to the shop to wave at it and come back in.
Yeah, y'all don't want to know what weather I got going on today.
No, you
same
get them.
here.
Get
I saw
tomorrow.
photographs. I've
Yeah, it's good times.
Snow stacked up 2 or 3 inches of it on the back porch.
I got 6 now, and it's still snowing. I'm supposed to get another 5 tonight.
Oh, that'd be
Nice.
interesting.
I might be getting upwards of 9 tomorrow.
That'd
There
be
you
fun.
go.
Thursday,
Yeah,
Friday.
it's coming your way, Andy.
Yeah, thanks. You can keep it up there.
Yeah, it's going both ways. It's coming up here too.
Yeah.
We're
I
gonna
have an
get
order
up
coming
to
in from
15.
I have an order coming in from K&J Magnetics because we use them for our sander bearing packages. And 3 days ago, it said to be delivered yesterday. Today, still hasn't left Pennsylvania. So they must be really getting hell up there because it's got to come truck. Can't fly because it's magnets. But,
We had 45 degrees in Western PA today, almost 50. Hopefully he gets that tonight, or he might be snowbound tomorrow and Friday.
Yeah, I got 40 yesterday and now I've got like 25, then it's going to 0 by tomorrow night, so.
Okay, thanks.
Last night was the first overnight that we've been above 0 in the nighttime. It's been below 0 for a whole week.
Trey, can you set me up
Wow.
for co-host, please?
Just a week?
Yeah, just a week.
Been below 0 for months up here.
Well,
Today-
we
today was-
we expected that from you, Cade. You're up in the great north there.
Today was the nicest day we've had since the beginning of the year. It was 81,
Wow.
Ooh, nice.
absolutely gorgeous.
I don't remember what that's like.
Well, she
Is
has
water liquid at
mosquitoes.
that temperature?
Yeah, my, the pool out there is still 54, but yeah, the weather today was 81.
Wow.
Well, that's still warm. I'd be in that pool.
Good
Oh.
evening, everyone.
Not a
Ron.
hurricane. Can't
How's
do it.
everybody?
Ronnie.
Hey,
How's
Ronnie.
everyone?
Hey, Ronnie.
Hey, Cade, I've seen you outside with the baby playing in the snow.
Yeah, it was fun. I don't know who had more fun, him or me. It was like being a kid again, but he loved it.
Great,
Have
great.
to when they're that age.
So, is
He
the
didn't
big
do
guy
much
in yet?
moving. Pardon?
I said, is the big guy in yet?
Yeah, he's here.
You're late.
How you doing, Miss Sue?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Good, good. And how about Miss Brenda? Is she in?
I
I
haven't
haven't
seen
seen
her.
her yet.
I seen that bowl she did. I said she ought to make that a Band-Aid bowl.
I didn't. Oh,
There
Hasn't
he
seen
is.
yet either.
Part of her urn, I believe.
I think she's doing it for an olive oil dip at Olive Garden.
Okay, Dane, I see the pipe. Have you made one?
Yeah. Yeah, here, let me
What-
grab it.
Yeah, are there good woods to make pipes out of?
Yeah, they
Yep.
gotta be non-toxic, tight grained,
Cherry,
cherry,
Pearl,
mesquite.
what,
Briar.
cherry mesquite, briar,
Cherry's
yeah, briar.
soft.
Cool. What's yours made out of?
Cherry's
This
quite
is
soft.
mesquite.
Okay. Okay. Very cool. Very
Dane,
nice.
is your contact information on the list?
Yes, it is.
I need to get with you. I need to get some mesquite from you.
I sent it to you last week.
Did you?
Yeah.
I don't. I'm sorry. I must have missed it. I'll
No, that's all
I'll
right.
get a hold of you offline.
Okay. No worries.
Joaquin Vincent has an access to a lot of mesquite too. So
I like the
He
bulk
brought the-
inclusion or the edge inclusion that's on Dane's pipe.
Yeah.
That is an
Yeah.
extremely nice touch.
very
I
cool.
appreciate it. Thank you.
good. Looks
Nice.
Yeah,
good.
Live
still breaking it in. I've got it about halfway full now. I smoke it, pack it a little bit, and smoke on it in the mornings, and then let it cure. Got to build the cake in it that way it doesn't burn or ruin the wood on the inside. But yeah, it's nice cool smoke, and
Would you
it's gonna
explain
be-
that?
It's going to be
Would you-
great for the pool. You know, I'll load that sucker up, and I'll be able to toke away on it for 2-3 hours.
Dane, would you
Matt,
tell me
would you
Dane, would you go tell me what you did about the inside of that again? You said you went through that awful quick.
So it's not finished on the inside. And
Okay.
so and it's with any pipe, there's a break-in period. So you only put enough tobacco in it to fill, a quarter of the bottom, and you smoke that down, and then you clean it out, clean the tobacco, the ashes out, and then you got to let it sit and cure. And then,
Okay.
so 24 hours, and then following day, you repeat, just repeat that process. And then after 3 days, you can go a little bit higher than you were the prior 3 days. And you just got to gradually build your way up the bowl. That way there's a nice cake, you know, essentially it's the tobacco juices go inside the wood grain to further seal and create a char that prevents fire from happening.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Oh,
And
you're
what kind of finish would you use on the outside of that?
So on the outside, I used Bowden seed oil. And then once that dried, followed it up with 3408.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yep.
I've made a few and I've made a few and I'm thinking of making more because there appears to be a demand for it. So
Yeah, it seems that way. And it's solely, you know, all turned on the lathe. There is no power sanding or power carving like what you see on the YouTube videos.
So are you making then the bowl as a single piece and you're turning the whole thing?
So
because I've carved mine because I had a little stem on mine. Okay, all right. So
this
that
whole
section.
piece, so it's all one piece.
Okay. Well, you had to have carved it somehow.
Oh no, multi-axis turning. And then you remove a set of your jaws on your chuck to be able to change how you're, and then it's just like a bowl, you know, you flip it around and whack off your tenon or your spear point from holding it between centers. But you got to find all your axes points in order to get your drilling correctly, you know, because you got to have your hole going through, coming in straight across the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, what I did is I used 2 axes and I don't have it here because I've sold them all, but I drilled the stem out first, and then I drilled the bowl out to, you know, and I carefully measured to make sure I wasn't going too deep, and then I put it on between the centers to do the stem, and then between the centers to do the bowl.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, okay, thank you. I'm working it out in my head. So,
Eddie, can you have a word with the man that does the demonstration organisation? And I think there's a definite demo there. There is a definite demo there. I want to see somebody make a pipe.
I do too.
Yeah, we want to see somebody make a pipe. Demo, pipe.
That would involve more than one evening.
Dane would do it too.
We've got plenty of nights.
Oh, I know.
And who do we talk to about getting a demo scheduled?
I don't know, you know.
You could do it sort of.
Definitely think that we're going to have a word with Dane to organise that demo schedule over, even if it takes 3 nights. We're here. We're here every Wednesday and will be forever.
And we could probably even do cross promotion on that.
We could.
We'll probably do cross promotion.
Yeah, they're fun to make. I do them slightly different, but there's
How do you do them?
Sounds like another demo.
How do you do them, Kade?
We're all going to be smoking pipes.
Well, I map it out.
Project for he's our second demonstrator. Our first demonstrator is our master webmaster, David, with some information on making an urn. And I have to record that for one of my bosses once. But we have a couple of demos tonight. We're going to have a little gallery. Hey, I have a good video gallery to show you. And during the gallery, we'll see Dane's pipe, but we also see a wonderful turning by Dave Rhodes. And he is going to be elected president of the Worldwide Woodturners Funnel Club. We're going to put him in to be in a funnel club. It's only fair that, you know, we recognize talent where talent is. So we're gonna be looking at that in the video demo later, video gallery later on. And I think I only had 6 or 8 folks send in things for the video gallery this week. And I know it's a lot of things going on, a lot of people busy. I mean, it's 2/2/22 for, start, so you hit it a lot and party and everything. But it's, the gallery is important to us. We'd like to see what you turn. See that pipe that Dane did? That is a work of art. But not only a work of art, it is a project of mechanics, because he held it 2 axes, 2 totally opposite axes. And then he had to machine it to where the second axis or the first axis, well, each way it goes, would totally perfectly lined up with the other one. Because you don't want to be drawing from above the bottom of the pipe. So I mean, that's the kind of stuff we like to see and everything. And in fact, in case he's confused, it's Dane with the demo for just let you know, I'm just like Dane. I'm not letting you get away. I get a demo in this place, and we'll nail it down. But that was a good project. I like that. And you can learn. Say you don't want to do a pipe. Don't say that, okay? But if you don't want to do a pipe, you don't have to do a pipe. But think about the other ways you can use this for your best interest or work you want to do. I mean, coffee scoops, things like that, all turned on 2 axes nicely. And it's how you hold it. That's what we want to get on to. How do you hold it? How do you drill it? How do you engineer it? How do you shape it? And is there carving involved? Because some folks just won't do it if there's carving or mechanical shaping involved. One of the co-hosts grab that and silent it, please. Can we do that? All right. Our co-host can normally grab these. We create co-hosts so that members can help members. It's not a hierarchy. You want to be part of the team, you're on the team. And that's just how it works. There's no, I don't like your cousin, I'm gonna let you in, all that. Doesn't happen here. Well, every one of us has got an equal vote. And I get a lot of calls on that during the week. A lot of calls. Hey, how can I do this? What can I do? If I do a demo and tape it, so that I'm sure I have it right. Yeah, you can do that. I don't know what the program is in DOS or Microsoft, but in Mac, there's iMovie, and it's a free program in your Mac. You can edit video from your iPhone. So you have the iPhone and you're looking over the top of the light and you see the piece, and then you want to talk to the camera, stop it, reposition it, start it again. And when you go to edit it, you just blend them all together. No major science to it, really. I mean, I can do it, you can do it. So it's a fun way, but people call, how can I do this? How can I do that? That's why we're here. And it's only 1:15. We have about 65 folks in the house. Dane Chandler is our gallery master. Yeah, we got him wearing 2 hats. Or he has chosen to wear 2 hats. Better put that way. If you'd like to show something on gallery, go to chat, put in there, I have gallery. I have gallery. That's all you need. I have gallery. And then Dane will write you down on the list. And when I say it's time for gallery, Dane takes over. He'll call your name out. You have to start talking. Once he says your name, start talking. And we'll get into it. We have somebody who wants to stay quiet tonight, Dane. He's in a list for gallery right now. And he's got the bug. And he doesn't want to do a lot of talking. So let's see if we can be quiet with Doug Miller and show up his piece.
You there? Hello, there you are.
There it is.
Hey, Doug.
Just real quick, I did want to take a lot of time, but I did want to show you. I did finally finish this one. I had to take all that lacquer that I had off of it and redid it. I still got a nice shiny finish, but I used a totally different product and got it all done. And it came out really nice and lightweight. Doesn't weigh very much, but it is beautiful. My wife loves it because it reminds her of walnut. Well, I've got a walnut piece here to show you too. It's just a little darker. This was a challenge from some guys over in England. They're throwing out a hashtag week challenge once a month, and this week it was Dibbers. Tried to do it with a skew, and so that one was one I did. So anyway, that's what I wanted to show you guys tonight.
Thank
Right
you.
on,
Doug.
thank you.
Very nice.
Very nice, very nice.
Thank you all.
Well,
Hope you're
shoot,
feeling
let's
better.
follow that up with Tim then. Tim, what do you got?
Hey,
Tim
good
Hatch
evening,
is in here.
everybody. So, a little bit of turn. I remember this last week, and again, I got this from the Papa 1947, and it's set up so you could cut different angles if you were doing one of those stacked bowls. So, my first try doing a stacked bowl, I got some Paduke, oak, and walnut, and of course the Paduke, transferred some of its beautiful red color on my oak. So I know there's different ways of doing it, but stacked bowl, it's a combination of things. It's the first time I've done a stacked, we call it economy bowl. And when I was gluing things up, bumped the table that didn't line up correctly, 100%, but overall, I'm kind of satisfied. I did have some key learning points that I learned out of it, and that's really what the whole exercise was about. Was number one, using this little tool rest that I built based off of modifying what I learned on Gary's site there. But when pushing your parting tool through, of course, using your rest and everything, make sure as you get close to the end, let the tool do the work. Don't try to friggin' muscle it in there, because I ended up having some blowout, and you can see right up in there where some of that tear out was. And of course, I tried to hand sand it by putting a piece of sandpaper down on the table saw and sanding it that way. That didn't quite make it. So a couple little things to learn, the finish on it is tongue oil. I've got 2 coats on it right now. I'm just, playing with tongue oil for the first time too. So I'm, using this as an experimental. It's nothing perfect by any means, but it's a learning tool, and that's what I was going for. So that was my week.
Right on.
Well,
Hey, Tim.
Hey,
Very nice.
as
that looks like a
suggestion
good
on the-
demo.
Everybody else.
That
Look at
looks-
Eddie.
That looks like a really good demo. They're not doing a big bowl, but show us how to do it.
You like that, right? Okay.
Yeah, you need to show us how to do it.
Yeah, I
Need to
could probably wrangle that. It just based off the time for the National Guard, because I go out and train them. I'm gone again next week, so I'll have to work it out with. Thanks. Appreciate it, Eddie. Gotcha. Tim Hatch on the Economy Bowl.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Hey, just tell him the first sergeant from the Arizona National Guard said it was okay. You're approved.
Yeah.
I don't know if that'll work, but you can throw it out there.
Doug, I retired a while ago. That's why I look like a billy goat. But I still go out and do all the training. But anyway, that's something we can work out.
I'll be talking to you soon.
Helpful hints though, how to stop the Paduke from doing this.
Sanding sealer.
Seal the oak first.
Prior to sanding, or
Yeah.
prior to the
But so
Would it
your lighter colored woods, I would seal it first.
Okay.
That'll work to a certain extent, but with the open grain of the oak, it will still absorb some of the color
Yeah,
within that open grain, unless you fill that grain first with oak dust and then seal it
Okay.
totally. So it's one pristine, flat, sealed surface, and then the Paduke will just.
All right, so
Be
how
on the
am
top
I
note.
gonna do that, Kade, as far as
It's
sealing it prior?
CA would be.
That's the
for
trick I
the-
want
It's-
to know.
tricky. Once you turn the bowl and before you sand it, take it off the lathe, and then basically just paint and seal the oak. And you
Okay,
can hand sand with the grain of the oak to fill those pores. And you
Okay.
can use a hardening finish or a CA glue just over the oak to really fill those pores and bring everything up to one surface. So none of that Paduke will really embed in those softer pores of the oak. And then you would throw it back on the lathe and you can sand, but you have to, I mean, as long as you don't sand through the glue, the oak
Right.
will be sealed.
okay,
So you can
Well-
also hand sand. You could also hand sand, seal the oak, and then just hand sand on the lathe, but take it off, reseal it, and then sand it straight along each specific species of
yeah,
wood.
this was finished off with the 120 grit gouge. So- because it didn't line up, correctly. And with all that, tear out and everything, I ended up having to sand instead of slicing like I wanted to. I was getting good slicing cuts where it wasn't glued together, but I had a bit of an overlap. So I was cutting wood, cutting air, cutting wood, cutting air, and got it down to about, that's probably 3/16 on the edge. And there were some spots in the center of the bowl. So it's basically 3/16 all the way through. But it was getting a little thin and still thick. So I ended up having to do a little power sanding and then hand sanding it. But
Yeah, it's a
I
little more
am looking forward
time-consuming.
to more Paduke and other colors. I think it'll be really interesting. So,
Yeah,
all right,
very nice.
that's what I got, guys. Thanks, appreciate it.
Right on, thank you. All right, let's go to our master laser.
I need, hold on. I have another picture of Tim Hatch here. There it is.
I love it.
Isn't that Tim?
Love it.
Spitting image.
It is.
It's even Tim with Billy Bird.
I noticed he wasn't wearing his hat though.
No, I'm not wearing that particular hat
Oh.
right now, but
Hey Tim, you only wear that hat when you're in the corner, right?
exactly. And right now with this bowl, I feel like I should be in the corner, but it was a fun experience.
No, it's all good.
Hey,
All
Eddie, before you go, because I tried to ask you last week, do you need some wood?
Of course.
What kind of wood?
Well, I got some mesquite, I got some pecan, I got some oak, I got some hackberry. I got a little walnut, got a variety of stuff. And I was thinking about you mentioned you were looking to make a cane. Would you be interested in that piece up top there?
That is pretty.
What
It is
Yes.
that piece of walnut right there. I
How
won't give
thick
it
is
all
that?
to you, but I'll part off a piece if you'd like it.
I would like it. I won't get into the begging thing on this. I don't.
No,
have any
it's not that. It's
His
a,
address is on the website.
yep, gift to you. I just want to make sure before I send it that you would use it. So,
Oh, I'll use it. Man, what do you think? I'm picky? Wood and food don't get away from me.
Hey,
Well,
what's better
and
than
that lines up into,
Everything
since
is
you shotgunned me into doing a demo on the economy bowl, maybe you can do a demo on how to turn a cane.
Oh,
I can do that.
I like it, Tim. I like it.
Yeah, canes are
Gotta
fun.
think on my feet.
Stu's in on that.
All right, we'll see y'all.
Yeah, Stu's in on that.
Do a
There's some
multi-access
map
handles.
making. Yeah.
All right, let's go to
Canes.
let's go see what Billy's got here.
Way at it, Billy.
I'm up. Am I unmuted?
Yeah,
Yes,
you're
I'm
up.
unmuted.
Yep.
I have
Let's
I have
see,
about
let's
a
see those
9.
things.
I have about a 10-inch, about 3.5-inch piece of elm bowl. I turned a couple of bowls this week, but this one we laser embellished it, and it turned out really well. It was the first time doing it, so I used the oh goodness, I can't even think of what it's called right now. I keep drawing blanks. I must be getting old. My
The
indexer
lathe?
on
Lathe
the lathe.
indexer.
Yeah, I put it on the lathe, and I used the indexer. I probably could have gotten them a little bit closer, and I probably should have framed them, you know, with some lines, but I didn't. But it was just a trial situation, and still working on the bottom with a new laser engraver. But it was just a piece of
I
elm.
like them as is, Billy. I think it looks
Yeah.
great.
Well,
They
like I
look
said,
good.
the spacing is always the hardest thing. You know, getting it where I could use it on the laser on the actual lathe was kind of a challenge, but because the angle of the bowl was pretty steep, but I was able to get the laser in the right plane, and it stayed in that plane, and it's only about 1 inch tall, so that helped things out a little bit. But I did that one. I did a couple of bowls. I did a little bit bigger. I think this one's 14 inches. This is about as big as my lathe will turn. But another piece of elm. This is a twice turn bowl. But it's just got the mineral oil and beeswax on it. It's kind of a utility type bowl, and a little foot on the bottom, or a little. I can't think of. I'm drawing blanks. You guys got to help me out with words.
Pedestal.
Cannon, recess.
Pedestal.
Pedestal.
Pedestal. Okay.
I don't know. I'm getting old. Yeah.
Well,
That's all
Billy,
I've
Bill-
got.
Billy, you had a dry run earlier.
I know. That was like a whole nother lifetime ago.
True. Are you going to do a video or something explaining how you have your laser mounted on your lathe?
I can. I actually posted some photos on Facebook under Dillard's Woodcraft, but that's the photos were actually really showed how I set it on top of my tool rest. I had an extra tool rest that I just clamped down for the rear, and that just set the angle of the dangle. And then on the front side of it, my particular tool rest on my Laguna has a 1/4 inch radius. And what I did was I actually cut a 1/4 inch radius in the bottom of my platform for my laser engraver, so it just dropped right on top of that tool rest.
Nice.
And then I used a couple of clamps just to hold it in that pivot point. And look, let me tell you, I was worried about, bumping the laser or between turns.
Mm-hmm.
It's rock solid. It would, man, I could push against the platform and not make it move a fraction of an inch. So the tool rest was a real solid platform for it. But the angle, it's a pretty steep angle, so it needs to be refined a little bit. But it worked really well just for a test. I mean, the bowl I had a few imperfections in it. It wasn't a funnel, but it had a dimple in the bottom from when I had drilled out the blank. So it was a good bowl to use as a test. But there's a nice picture of it there, Eddie or somebody grabbed. But I just basically took my my extra tool rest, which is for my interning or whatever you call it.
Right.
And just clamped it down on the table, and almost ran out of extension on the back, but you can slide that further forward, and you don't have to go up as high. But I want to perfect it maybe just with a threaded bar stock on the rear, because it doesn't pivot. It just needs a way to set the angle. Mm-hmm. But it works really well, and you set the to get you in the ballpark for your focal length, you use your front tool rest. And just get that close, and then you adjust your laser to get the focus. And I just squared my tool rest to my bed, and then once I dropped my laser on there on the points that I had engraved or had cut into the wood, it lined everything up perfectly straight. So it works really well. The concept is definitely workable. It just needs to have a better fixture. But it's definitely something I'm going to continue to do. I've got a real big bowl, bigger than this one. That has no grain to it. I mean, it's just a dead, so it needs to have some embellishment to it. So that's what this is. This is a test bed for the bigger bowl that I want to do. But yep, that's all I've been doing. A little bit of laser engraving with a new engraver, and got a vacuum box with to get the fumes out of the shop. I've been working on that.
Hey,
Good
Billy.
job, Billy. Good job.
Hey, Billy. That's awesome.
Yes,
Very
sir.
nice.
Billy,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to say something about your laser, interested in your laser. Ever since you started talking about the laser and everybody, and I went out and bought one, I spend more time playing around with that laser than I do with my laser work.
I know that's been a problem for me. I had to make myself go turn these bowls because I had to have something.
That's just kidding aside. That's just kidding aside. I'm just playing with you.
I feel the same
Gotta
way.
blame somebody, right?
Oh yeah. When it's really cold though, I can get in there and mess with this in a different room and not be out in the shop where it's freezing cold. So it allows me to bounce back and forth.
It gets freezing cold in Louisiana.
It does at times. We don't have a dry cold here. We have a wet cold when it's
Yeah,
cold.
it gets down to the
lot
50s.
different.
That's
Oh,
freezing for us.
yeah, it gets into your bones.
Yeah, it was
50s is
70
brutal.
70
Wow.
today.
That's
We'll
how
have
it is
30s,
here, surrounded by
30s.
the Great Lakes.
They do make a heater, right?
Yeah. But I don't know what it is. I've lost a few pounds here recently, and it's like I feel everything in my bones, dude. Maybe it's just getting old. I don't know.
No, I feel it too.
Yeah. I mean, I used to work outside,
One thing is,
at night,
Yep.
one thing is you can't get younger. No matter how you try, you
Nope.
can't get younger.
All right. Thanks, Billy. All right, let's go see what Joaquin's got.
Anybody else up the gallery? Oh, we're
Joaquin
gonna go
is?
Joaquin.
Look at Joaquin.
Oh, new
Oh,
handle.
nice.
New bowl gouge.
Oh,
I turned 50 on this coming Sunday. This is my birthday present. And Thompson's out of aluminum, so they're not selling handles right now. So I got a blank from, I don't have any ash available to me locally, so I ordered a blank from Craft Supply. And then I went to my Ace Hardware. This is a flange bolt, a plumbing flange bolt, 5/16 or 5/8, and made my own bowl gouge. And I shaped it this way on purpose so that the gouge cam will fit.
oh, wow.
Hmm.
That's
cool.
pretty cool.
What is that?
It's a GoPro camera.
It's not a GoPro. It's a what's this called? A Kade Brave 4 Pro. It's a small little thing, but it fits in this. That's the waterproof case, and it fits right there. And you can shoot the tip of your gouge, and the shavings come right at the camera. It's really cool. It's really fun. Not my idea. Rick Turns on YouTube.
So
is where I
you're
first
set
saw
up
the gouge cam.
So you're all set up to do demos too then?
Well, I can't stream this live yet. This takes up the entire wireless connection.
But you got a phone. You got a phone.
I have a phone.
I'm gonna be,
Is it Bluetooth or?
It'll Bluetooth to that phone. It sure will. Well, a GoPro.
This one does not
well.
Bluetooth. This one does Wi-Fi, so I can't stream it live. It takes the entire Wi-Fi and the phone only controls it. It doesn't broadcast.
Well, we don't want to see the shavings flying off cute.
I'm getting there, but this camera doesn't have that capability.
Did it come with a wire that you can wire it right into the computer? Because then
Not
it'll work
with-
and stream it into the computer.
Not with this case.
Only the
this is
newer
a waterproof
GoPros will
case.
work. The
I'm
older
sorry?
GoPros won't work. Some of the
Yeah,
older
yeah.
GoPros won't work.
Yeah, see, this only costs $100. GoPro costs like $400.
Yeah, but even then,
Oh,
even
yeah.
the older GoPros, they won't work. Only the newer ones will. I think 8 and up.
Mhm.
Yeah. Now these do have newer. There's newer ones
Which
out
one
that
is
might be
that?
Bluetooth. This is a Kade Brave 4 Pro, and they're up to 9 now. So the 9 might be Bluetooth. But this is actually, it's a 4K camera. It's actually very high quality video for $100 and micro SD cards. So if I run this as a camera and run that as a camera, I've got 2 camera angles for YouTube videos. So that's pretty nice. But this is really, this is my child right here. I broke it in today, and let me tell you, this is a great bowl couch. This is a really great bowl couch.
I
The
don't
bowl
wanna-
isn't done though. I'm sorry?
I want to throw this out there. When you're looking for wood for handles, think
Mhm.
about the hardware store and replacement handles for wheelbarrows. and
Yeah,
postal
yeah.
bits.
Or
Yeah.
hose or
Good
Well, and
straight
actually,
hardwood.
what was funny,
thumbs,
what was
hickory.
funny is I wanted to do ash just because I've never turned it before, and it's very nice to turn. But the blank hadn't got here yet, so I was literally setting up my table saw to cut myself a white oak blank because I've got some very nice 2.5 inch thick white oak slabs, kiln dried. So I was just gonna cut myself a white oak blank, and the dog started barking, and I went around in front of the house, and there was a box with my handles. So it was a treat to turn the ash, and all the ash out here in North Carolina is dead from beetles. So I can't get a hold of any of it.
Yeah.
So that's all I got.
Just follow, just follow on behind the
Beautiful work.
arborist and
Good
pick it up
tips and
off them.
hints.
Right, they're cutting them down everywhere.
Yeah.
All right, let's
Yeah.
go to Neil. Hey, Neil.
Hey, I wanted to ask him real quick. What camera system are you using when you're doing your TikTok videos?
My phone.
Oh, okay.
That's all my phone.
See?
I wonder if it's the same camera. I had one of
We're
those.
down in
similar.
Florida with Neil Mack. Hey, Neil.
Hi, everyone.
Hello there.
I've turned some cannons
Oh, cool.
Those are cool.
for a project and some soldiers, and they actually fire. Pull back on the. I gotta put the camera down to show you.
Oh, is it spring loaded?
It's spring loaded. Yes.
Huh. That's cool.
And I made some soldiers. This is part of a 2x4 project for my wood club.
Oh, 2x4 club.
Yeah.
That's
And so
cool.
for my next set of cannons, I started to turn some wheels.
Oh, nice.
Ooh.
Oh, that's cool.
So
That's tricky to do.
it is. But you use the indexing of the lathe, and I actually drill them right on the lathe. So when that's complete, I'll show you guys that.
Got a little reenactment going on there.
That's
cool.
right. That's correct. North and south.
Yep,
That's cool.
Thank you.
right on. Thank you, Neil. All right, let's go back to our main host here.
Oh, me. Okay.
Got you napping.
I was chatting with Tim Hatch. No, I was chatting with Tim Hatch. I mean, I have all these notes to make about people that have sort of volunteered. I mean, I don't really suck them in for a volunteer for demos. That's Dane's job, to recruit them or suck them in or whatever, con them, whatever. Hey, we're doing
con, yeah.
gallery right now. If you'd like to show something in gallery, go to the chat, say, I have something to show, or I have gallery, and we will, Dane will introduce you, and then we'll get into it. But before we do that, let me tell you another feature what chat is. Earlier, you had somebody ask, Dane, is your address on the list? What is the list? Now, let's clear this up. We've been at this 865 days. We don't have a membership list. We don't have a membership requirement. We don't have a way to tally who's here, when's here, and all that. What we can do, and we're doing it now, is collect the information that you wish to put forward. And our master webmaster places it on a contact list. Now here, you provide the information through chat. Just go into chat and put, I'm Dane Chandler. My phone number is this, my mailing address this, my website's here, my YouTube channel's here, all that stuff. Oh, somebody block them out, please. And all that will go to our chat. Tonight or tomorrow, our master webmaster will take that information from the chat and add it to the list. At that time, he will remove it from the chat before he puts the chat online for our website. Now, when he removes it, he goes to the list, adds it to it. And if you want a copy, go to our website, and there's a place for you to contact. You have to fill out the little form. The password's captain. Okay, write that down. Everything else is on the form, and you must do exactly what it says, where it says uncheck the box, uncheck the box. And that's how you get on the contact list. It's not a live list. When you get the list, you'll have to type in whoever's address or phone number, whatever you want, into your computer. You can't just touch and go like you think you can email. But it's the way for us to share our information. We've done this to be bot proof. So if you want to be on the contact list, put it in the chat right now. We have 80 folks listening tonight or being part of the club. Our membership is wide open. Everybody in the world can join and be part of it. And with that, we're going to go to Dane again for more gallery this evening, right, Dane?
That's right. We got Doug.
We only have a few minutes before we go to David, our webmaster, for the demonstration. Doug, is Doug awake? Somebody wait. He's the Army. They nap off really quick.
All right. Well, let's go to Johnny Hughes, and then we'll come back to Doug.
I might have a picture of what he has. There he goes. Oh, wait. Here he comes. Here he comes.
Oh, all right. Let me go back to Doug. Hold on.
Here's
all right,
Tony.
Doug, you're up.
I ran out for a second. Okay, so I got a couple of different things. So let's see, is retired Chief Gary Bodenassen, if I'm saying that right. Are you on tonight? Gary, anybody named Gary? Okay, so
I'm here.
Sometimes.
That's you, Gary?
Oh, wrong Gary.
Wrong Gary. Okay, well, this Gary sent me.
It's Gary Bodenhausen.
Sent me more pens for the troops. So thank you very much. I believe if I count right, there's 10 or 11 of them in there. So are those lights messing you guys up? There we go. Maybe that's better. Anyways, yeah, he just a whole bunch of them. They're really nice pens. Then last you guys a walnut bowl where I turned and I left most of the log as natural as I could. I did another one. They went over really well. The people that follow me on Facebook. So that one was sold and this one's already sold. I just haven't delivered it yet. What I did this one than I did on the other one was I went ahead and rounded the back all the way over. If you guys remember last week, I left the other one. It was pretty much a rectangle, really. By turning the bottom all the way round, it made it so much easier to turn this out. I was able to get a lot more speed on the lathe with that rectangle one. I barely got over 500. It was a long turning session. But that one turned out all right. And then
what's the finish?
He asked me earlier about the funnel I sent them for gallery. But at any rate, so quick little safety note. I saved it. That bad boy came flying off when I was turning the bowl that we'll show you in a second. It's construction lumber. It wasn't anything special. Not 100% certain, but I think maybe cedar, but don't quote me on that. It did miss me, but if that would have hit me and I didn't have my shield on, man, that'd have left a mark.
Yeah. Might have stuck in.
This is tenon where it was in the chuck, so facing the chuck that way. and y'all can see where it actually snapped off.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole bowl went flying. It did crack. I picked it up, CA'd it back together. And so the bottom, I've already cut the bottom out. So essentially this part of the hole is what was left from that. But as I was messing around with my roto zip to cut it out. So that's the piece. And then, so, hey, how you guys doing? So my first 3-point bowl that I've ever made and then broke. But so I'm going to go ahead and then I'll tape this up and fill that with resin and put a mortise in there and then go back and fix it up, smooth it out. But that's how I'm going to fix this one.
Nobody will be the wiser.
Yeah.
Cool.
But so with those of you that have made the 3-point bowls, were these points all supposed to be tight, or did I do something wrong measuring and that's why they were?
Yeah, you rounded them. I actually did that on my first 3-point bowl also. Basically, those are the corners, the edges on your original square. Okay. So basically, you treat it like those corners are natural, those edges are natural edges, and you don't touch them. Treat them like they have bark on them. And so you cut in. Did that make sense?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. You hand sand.
I don't have one. I don't have one close, but yeah, basically you just want to keep the top 3 edges on that piece in violet, and turn the whole bowl around them. And one of the beauties of that is you could come back and with like a palm sander, a flat palm sander, and sand that, because it's the original face of the cube. You can sand that edge. You know, it should still be flat. I guess that's what I'm saying. So if you put one of those corner to corner edges up straight so we can see it at the, tilt it like that. No, tilt it so I can look down the edge. All right, now tilt one of the corners towards yourself. Nope. Roll it towards yourself like that. I'll have to look for one myself. But basically, the edge that you have, that edge from corner to corner, it should be flat because it's the original face of the cube.
Oh, yes. Okay. And I rounded that over with my sander when I was.
Yep. And you rounded the corners too.
Yes. But then I realized when I reverse chucked it to hog it out, that's when I realized that the one corner was quite a bit taller than the other 2. And I wasn't really sure where I made that mistake yet. Hey, there it is. That's what it looked like when it came off the lathe. And that's actually glued back together. It didn't break completely in half, but the crack was all the way through. It would, with almost no pressure at all, you could have broke the thing into 2 pieces. But
that's the beauty of a video gallery.
Say again?
That's the beauty of the video gallery when you send us photographs.
Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to show tonight. That's what I did. I did the thing today. So.
Hey, Doug, I got one here. If y'all want to spotlight me.
Coming back, talk to us, sir.
Right here, Matt Herber.
I got you.
Okay, so this edge here is flat. It's original face of the cube. All right, so you've got it mounted in the lathe, opposite corner to opposite corner this way. Okay, and so when you're turning it, I clipped one of mine. Let me use one of these corners here that's sharp. Okay, so basically when you're turning it, is you don't ever touch these edges. You just you turn your bowl in, and then you come back this way. And so this is your original edge, and this is the original face of the cube. So what you can do is you can then take your, you can take a flat sanding block. This is flat, and you can sand that and crisp up your edges. Okay. If that makes sense. And that's even if you chip it or whatever, then you can come back and sand it with a flat sanding block or with a palm sander or something like that, and clean it up like when you're all done turning.
Okay. I'm definitely gonna try again. So
Yep, they're a good teaching tool because it teaches a lot. It teaches things about like how, you know, how to turn in the air and turn unevenly edged pieces and so on, because it's spinning on the lathe like this.
yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, you got to watch the corners.
Yeah, I marked
That's for sure.
where they would be, and then you know, I was able to see the ghost line pretty well anyway when I was turning it. But it was the weirdest part, honestly, was figuring out how to form my tenon. Like I kept having to go back to Mike Peace's video. I probably watched that thing 3 times. I'm like, how did he get started? And then once I got started, then it kind of all fell into place. But
yeah, I actually have a video where I show how to do that. I use I mean, you can mount it in your lathe from, if you take all your chucks and stuff off, you can mount it in your lathe directly in the spindle and then directly, you know, in a live center. But I use Don Doyle at Rubber Chucky makes some specialized chuckies for these. Okay. So I've got a video on my channel. I may have done it for this club at one point.
You
okay.
did.
But I show how to do that. And basically what you do is the absolute first thing you do is you turn a tenon and then you part it off, and then you put it in then you take everything off and put it in the chuck because it holds it a lot better.
Yeah, that's how I did it. Put it in the spindle, pulled the little tooth out of the live center, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
Cool.
So and there are some variations. There's some pretty cool variations to these. Like you can leave the bottom part on, and it comes out opposite, and you use that as your foot. And there's some somebody else was doing those. Was it you, Billy, who was doing those sort of those pagoda sort of box bowl things in the sort of same way?
Johnny used it.
Kade's been making
Johnny
ornaments
Hughes,
with
there you
it.
go.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did a fair amount of those bowls and boxes and pagoda type things, or footed boxes, or they're fun to do.
Yeah.
You got to keep in mind the grain orientation with the alternating grain orientation. It'll be easy to cut one way, and then you'll be cutting uphill the other way. So
Man, you were there. That I definitely felt that when I was making this one, and like on some of the slicing cuts I got were so smooth. I was like, this looks like I sanded it, and then get to the and then it was totally rough. I'm like, but I just did the same thing. What happened? But it was the grain direction.
Yeah.
Try burl.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I have a
or bird's
I have a
eye,
piece
or
here. This is
quilted.
Camphor burl, and so the grain is just not consistent at all. and
Oh,
this
nice.
was a rip to turn. This was really wild to turn.
That's
And
gorgeous.
So this is Camphor burl, and there's no finish on this. This is sanded to 600 and then burnished. And the reason there's no finish on it is because if you hold it in your hands, the wood starts to warm up and you can smell the camphor. But so I could have rounded the bottom, but I wanted it to look more like maybe a tulip or something. So I came with that shape. And then this is the other end.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And I didn't have, what's really kind of funny, I didn't have enough to do the stand. So I just cut myself a triangle to make a base. This whole piece is an experiment. I'd never done a barley twist before. And I only had a little triangle. When you got this part off, you probably had about 1/3 of the size of the bowl. So I didn't know what to do with it, but it's camphor and it's stupidly expensive. So I have good clients. So I saved it, and I finally decided what to do with it. It was just a little incense holder. But if I line it up right, this is the same flat edge. It's hard to hold it. This is the same flat edge. You can actually make the edges line up if you get in there correctly.
That's cool. That's really cool.
It's the same flat edge. So But at my first 3/4 bowl, I glued 2 frogwood bowl blanks together and made a cube. And that turned out absolutely incredible. I only have photos of that and I don't have them here.
Okay.
But frogwood is birch, and it's Scandinavian birch, and it's like a higher end version of Spectraply. It's a little more consistent grain and stuff, and frogwood cuts like butter. It turns really nicely, and that piece.
They made quite a few pens out of their blanks and sent them to me to give
Yeah,
out to the.
yeah, I love frogwood, and their bowl blanks are a lot of fun to turn because the birch just cuts so nicely. So of course I decided to glue 2 together and make it 3/4 bowl, because why wouldn't I?
Thank you, Joaquin. Beautiful work, beautiful. Great ideas and tips and hints and all that. But this program, this meeting is supposed to share information, and we're doing that. Share information regarding or concerning wood turning. We are going to go to our master webmaster. David is with us tonight. He's going to give us a demonstration or an explanation about how to calculate sizes of an urn, because we all have this, well, this mystery surrounds us. So right now, let's pop into David and see our demonstration, our first demonstration. Kade Bolger is going to give us one in a little while. Are you up, David? Are you ready?
Okay. I'll give you a quick summary of what's going on the website. And what's going on is I've got a little thing for those people that are interested in, or not interested, curious about what size urn they need to make for a particular weight. I'm completely unfamiliar with how to make the urns in terms of how big, how tall it needs to be, and so that I have enough for the ashes, so to speak. So I've come up with a little tool that might help. And the first thing that you do is you go to the website and find the tool. And boy, I'm just skipping all over the place here. Let's see if I can get this to go a little slower. There we go. Right. Over here, you can put the height in either inches or centimeters. Whatever you give in whatever it is, like this is 10 inches. So this is the result. It's 215.8 inches cubed. So you get a volume over here, and this is the height. From top to bottom, whatever you put in, you're going to get some sort of result. And this answer will be cubed of whatever value you gave. Over here, you can say, okay, you're just doing 1/2 of the urn to give you an idea. And I figure the other side is symmetrical. And right now you can see I've got a kind of an interesting shape here. Up here says, how wide do you want the lip to be? You can kind of move along and make the lip of the urn whatever distance you want. And then you say how big you want the base to be. My base is going to be ridiculous. No, it's going to be something like that. And then I can change the shape of the sides any way I want by grabbing the little button here or the little button there, kind of move it around. You now have a shape to some sort of an urn. We have no idea what the volume is. We just know how tall it is. Then we move this right here and we say, okay, I'm going to try to get this square, this rectangle to have about as much hanging over. I don't know if this makes sense, hanging over. I have something hanging over. This is going here. There's a little missing there. This is about the right size for this. This is about the right size for this. This is about the right size. This is all an estimate. It's not giving you the exact volume. If you end up making this thing, the probability that you're actually going to make it with this exact shape is probably low, but it'll get you in the ballpark. And you'll know that, if I made it with that shape, I would get a volume if this was 10 inches. It would be 268, ignore the 0.4, I guess, 268 square inches, or rather cubic inches. If you need something that's about 268 cubic inches, this is probably reasonably accurate. So I've got something that's 10 inches. It's going to be about a 2.5 inches at the base here. It's going to be kind of 3, 3.5, 3.5. Notice this isn't really a half, but I'm saying this is only estimates. You're not going to get the exact result, but it'll get you in the ballpark. If you know you have to have over 150 cubic inches, I now know that I have at least 150 cubic inches. I have much more than that here. And again, I can reshape it to whatever I want to and get an estimate. Okay, so I haven't changed this, I haven't changed this, but I'll kind of change these things and say, whoops, I missed one there. And it'll give me an idea.
And those inches are doubled because that's only one side of the urn,
Just
correct?
one side of the urn.
Yeah,
So this
okay.
particular one would kind of, I don't know, how do you describe that shape?
Heart-shaped.
Heart shape, there we go. So, and you could actually get a heart shape, so to speak, at least a little bit. There is a problem with the thing. You can't really go too high up here. And if you do, and it goes out and hits that line, you have to release it and let it relax a second to catch it again. But you can get quite a few shapes out of this, whatever the shape is that you want. You're going to get about that volume. I wouldn't try to put, this one implies that it would have 557 cubic inches. I wouldn't really try to put something like that in there. Let's adjust this.
Hey, Dave,
Yeah,
would you, does the red bars, do they represent pieces of wood?
the red bars.
Yeah, the ones you're moving back and forth.
No, all they are is what I'm actually doing. Normally you would know how to figure out a cylinder. A cylinder is the length times height, rather the diameter times pi times the height. This isn't a cylinder. So I'm making, figuratively speaking, little cylinders here, and I'm saying this little cylinder would have one volume. This little cylinder would have another volume. This little cylinder has a little volume. So you're going up and down the
I see.
I
guess the question I was asking,
and add them up.
The question I was asking was, I guess, would you use this tool to then, let's say you were going to do a segmented urn, would you use this tool to then say, okay, I need pieces of wood that are this big?
No, well.
Okay, all right, thanks.
This is just, there are always 8 of these. I figure I could put more or less or something, but it would just be a pain in the neck. This gets you in the ballpark as to what the volume is going to be. And then you might say to yourself, well, what does the volume have to be for a person of a particular weight? There's another link over here. And I came up and I said, okay, you can put it in pounds or kilograms or stone. And if I say I have somebody that's 256 kilograms, then we'd have to have cubic centimeters would be the result. And I'd be saying 9,249 cubic centimeters. Not going to do that. How about if I have somebody that's 256 pounds, I need 256 cubic inches. So this gives me an idea what I'm looking for in terms of the bowl or the volume that I'm trying to create. Does that make any sense?
Hey, David.
Yep.
Yeah.
Walt Wager, who's demoed for you guys before, he's measured out in rice, like 100 pounds. What would be 100 pounds in rice, and we've used that on different vases to find out, you know, if this person
Right,
weighs
but
this.
that's after you've created the vase. And what I'm saying is, if you have no idea how tall you want to make this, then this gives you a chance to say, I got no idea how tall I need to make this thing. And this gives you an option to estimate what you need to start with.
I think
And
it's
once
fantastic.
if you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I think it's great.
Yeah, so this is definitely not intended as the actual volume. Pardon me, I'm trying to find it. There it is. There it is. This is not the ultimate result. This is just saying, I don't know what I want to do. If I made something that was 8 inches high, I would only end up with 110 with this shape. Okay, I might not make 110. It might turn out to be 120 because this is only an estimate.
Dave, is that 110 for just half the urn or for the whole urn?
That's the whole. That's the whole.
For the inside.
The whole urn.
The
You're
capacity for the
describing
inside.
drawing half because it's going to be.
All right, that's
Is this all in inches, in cubic inches?
If this is 8 inches, this is in cubic inches. If you make this in centimeters, then this answer is in centimeters.
Cubic centimeters, okay.
I'm sorry, cubic.
Dave, would this be the outside volume or the inside volume?
This is the inside volume.
Inside volume.
This is the inside volume. Of course, what you're doing is you're giving the shape of the inside. I mean, you could have a thing that looks like this on the outside, but the inside would look straight up and down like a cylinder. And so you're not doing that, if you know what I'm saying. You're saying whatever I'm measuring here is the inside of the cylinder. If you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Totally makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah. So I could have something that looks like that and say, I'm actually going to make a cylinder here. The outside shape looks like this. Nobody's going to do this, but that's the whole point. This gives me an estimate before I start. Am I making something that's tall enough? Is that shape going to have enough room once I'm done? Then when you get done, you pour the rice in and say, hey, that's the actual volume. And yeah, I came up pretty close.
So if you were making a 1/2 inch thick wall, you would just add 1 inch to the total dimension.
Exactly, exactly. And these are the dimensions in terms of, this would be 1.1 3/4 inches. The 7.76 isn't 3/4, but my point is, I'm not getting an exact answer anyway, but.
This is one of the best things I've ever seen on Worldwide Woodturners. Thank you
What's that?
very much. This is Mark Soleil.
Ah, okay. So that gives you, you know, something you can start with, and it'll give you most any shape you need.
That is extremely nice. And this is going to be available on our website, folks. On
This-
our website, probably the finest wood turning website in the world. And that's where you'll find this.
Very
And
cool,
that is
Dave.
from
Thank
our
you.
webmaster, David Rhodes. David Rhodes is our webmaster. And there's a lot of work into that website, a lot of work. And it's well worth it. I'm going to shut this off for a moment. David's back with
Oh,
us
yours.
again.
Dave,
David, that was very
fantastic.
nice.
My pleasure. I enjoyed it. I didn't know what else to do in terms of, I'm going to make an urn. How big do I need to make it? So Now everybody has an opportunity.
Very good. Thanks, Dave.
And we didn't
Good
have to
job.
put the spotlight on it. Look at that. That's great. Worked out just right.
Thank you, Dave.
All
Very
right.
nice.
It's day 865 for this organization, and we're having a little fun here tonight. And we're showing off some things. We have 2 demonstrations lined up. In a few minutes, we're going to go to Kade Bolger. He's in Canada, and he's going to do a piece for us. Now, the last time Kade did a piece for us, something came off. There was, it gave up a little bit. And Kade saved it without a blink. And that was a great demonstration because you see, if something goes wrong, it's a design opportunity. Just live through it and let it go. Don't beat it up or put it in the fireplace. Live through it and let it go. And that's what we're looking for. Dane, do we have any quick galleries, or we're going to go right to Dave?
Well, we can go to Johnny Hughes.
Oh, yeah, we bypassed him. Let's see what Johnny's got.
There
Johnny.
it is.
Yeah, let me unmute here real quick. Uh-oh. Put the
We
light
got you.
on. Okay. What I have here is my demonstration from a couple of weeks ago. This is the finished coffee scoop that I made here, and I went ahead and finished it out. And there again, that's the mahogany coffee scoop that I made during the demo. I just finished it out with lacquer, and that's it. This little piece is something I'm working on today. This is a piece of maple, and it's a potpourri bowl, but I was experimenting with color, and it's got a couple of different colors of dye on it. I left the inside natural, and I still have to put a finish on it. But that is, that's a piece of maple. It's
Oh,
been done.
wow.
Oh, very
And it has
nice.
a couple of incursions in it.
Gorgeous.
That's beautiful.
And I fill the incursions with aluminum there. So,
It's gorgeous.
Looks
so
good.
they would match here. But
Was that aluminum powder and epoxy or aluminum wire and then returned?
that's aluminum powder and CA glue. So
Nice. Very nice.
that is. But it's once I colored it, I noticed it had it really brought out the grain and the chatoyance in this piece of maple. It wasn't there otherwise. You just didn't see all that otherwise, but it made a huge difference in it. So coloring
Oh,
it
that's
out.
very nice. It's like walnut on the outside and maple on the inside.
Yeah, it does. And it's just a combination of honey yellow dye and a brown dye on top of that. So
It's beautiful. Very nice.
all righty, thank you.
Really, really.
Did
nice.
you
We got
seal
a
the
picture of
inside
Josh hanging out in the shop.
so the dye wouldn't come through?
No,
Oh no. Okay.
no,
Cool.
I didn't. I didn't seal the inside. In fact, I haven't finished the inside. I still have to put some more. Well, I have to put lacquer on it. I want to try to build up the shine on it. But that's
Beautiful work, Jim.
caught me with my hat on. There you go.
Oh, that's cool.
But I was just kind of playing with the color. I'm kind of new to dyes and that kind of stuff. I just always liked the natural wood, but I thought I'd start experimenting and try to highlight the grain on some of these.
Yeah, a little goes a long way.
Yeah, it does. So, and that's all I had for today. You know,
We have a lot of fun.
along with the
Thank you,
rest of my
Johnny.
coffee.
Great seeing you, sir.
All right, thank you.
We got one more gallery, and then we can go to our main demonstration. Hey, Terry.
Yeah, I'm up. Last week we had the demonstration on a bowl, on a winged bowl. So I walked out in the shop the next morning and there was a log looked just like the one he was working with sitting on my table. So I said, well, I'll give it a try. And down here in South Texas, you don't have to worry about finding wormy wood. You don't have to buy it. We have plenty. but wormholes are a little bigger. We don't have no little wimpy worms. We got ones. But anyway, it's not really good. It was my first attempt. It's got a few lines you can see with the, so I sanded it out pretty good. It's pretty thin. It's about 3 mil. Then I went to the other half of the log to try it, which had more holes. But somebody was saying that on the final pass, make sure you sharpen your tool. Don't do that. Sharpen it 3 or 4 passes before the final one. The final one went a little too quick. And so, but it came out pretty good, but you can see it's really thin. You can see through it. But it came out pretty nice. It's all wormholes. I don't know what kind of wood it is. It's bogwood. I don't usually buy any wood. It's something I found on the road. But it had a little trouble. And then I picked up another piece and I tried it green. And it flexed too much. And I don't know if I didn't get it centered right, but as I started to get down there, I went through the bark on this end. It might not have been centered quite right when I turned around and put it in the chuck. And it was green, so it was flexed in different ways real easy. But that's enough of that. But anyway, over the holidays, my wife talked me into putting some stuff in the art gallery and the show in 2 different art centers. So I made a lot of mesquite pedestal bowls in the past. Most of them were quite a bit bigger, but I don't have much wood. So I went and got a littler piece. This is about 8 inches across, 7, and about 9 inches tall. It's 2 pieces. It's end grain and side grain. It's all natural. It's mesquite. We have a lot of mesquite down. I'm close to where Joaquin is, and that's about mostly what we got. It was just something I was playing with. Both of the ones in the art center, I sold. I put the price on one, and my wife said that's too low, and it sold. So I raised the price and on the other one, and it sold anyway. So, but then the final one, you're probably tired of my lampshades, but I'll show you one more because I finally got one that I kind of like. Oops, you ain't going to be able to see it with the light on. Well, maybe if I turn it. But there's the shade. And this is the first base that I started out with. I don't know what kind of wood it is, but let me turn the light off so you can see the base of it. And it was really, really hard. And it's big. It's like, I think it's 16 inches, just a base, or 14. And I started doing it, and I thought I was going to do it with a John Jordan hollowing tool, and that didn't work. So I wound up going to a friend's house and borrowing a big bowl that he was setting up a boring bar that I homemade and hadn't used in 10 years. But I finally got it done, and I really liked it. This is probably the best one out of the 8 that I made. And then I wasn't sure whether I was going to make a lamp out of it or not, but it had a knot in it. It was a good place to put the wire.
Mm-hmm.
And I figured I could do it. But it came out really nice. I was really happy with it. So
looks good.
Very nice.
I keep trying, and fortunately, I've used up all of that North Fork Island pine because I was kind of getting tired of it. But the other day, I drove down Corpus Christi Road and saw a beautiful tree still standing. So one of these days, it's dead. One of these days, I might have some more, but I don't want. That's all I got, guys.
Right on.
Thank you, Terry. Beautiful work.
Gorgeous stuff.
Really nice.
All right.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
go ahead, Eddie.
it's cold outside. You think we should go to where they have some real cold? Then we should
Yeah,
go
I
to
think so.
Canada and see what Kade Bolger's got.
Yeah, maybe he'll show us some
Pop in
snow.
on his shop and see.
Oh,
There he
well,
is.
There he is. Hey, Kade.
Hey everyone.
Hi, Kade.
Hope all is well. My mic's on. Okay, cool. I'll do my show and tell before my demo. So at my club meeting here locally, there was a fellow who does spoon carving, and he showed a couple spoons at our last meeting. So got me a little inspired to play with a couple smaller pieces of wood and carve some spoons. So my biggest inspiration was my baby. So I made a small little baby spoon to feed cash because we're starting to give him purees and human food. So this is a small piece of beech. It was all carved out on the bandsaw and then hand carved and sanded. I did another one here. Now this is a salt or a sugar spoon, and this is a teaspoon. So here's a small little one. Again, it was carved out on the bandsaw, and then it was hand carved and sanded as I sat on the couch and watched hockey. So I also did a soup spoon or a pasta spoon, but they're pretty plain Jane. You can see similar types at IKEA. And then this week I've been practicing for this demo, which I'll show those examples when I start that demo. But I've also been practicing for my other demo that's coming up. And that's all I'll say about that. I'll throw the details in the chat later. So here is a small hollow form. The body of this hollow form is tulip poplar. The top inlaid portion of this hollow form is acacia. And then I have soft metal, which is indexed and inlaid into the color contrasting color to give it sort of a pop and some color contrast. So the
Very nice. I like that.
Oh, I'm back. Someone muted me, so no problem. Yeah, these are less than 1/8 of an inch wall thickness all the way down, so it's fairly light. And that's tulip poplar, acacia, and aluminum. And then I had some olive ash lying around and some small pieces of walnut. So I did this small little guy out of olive ash. And the top portion was walnut. And on this one, I just did 3 dots of the inlaid aluminum. So they're all indexed, inlaid, and as well as this. And that's turned less than 1/8 of an inch as well. But also when you make these tiny holes, all your wood turning buddies can't get their fingers in there and check the finish on the inside. I mean, I'm quite a perfectionist, so the sanding on the outside is the same on the inside. So if you got that small little camera light thing on a snake, you could probably go in there and see. But other than that, they're for your small little plants, flowers, wood turned flowers, like a weed pot. And then the next day I came down to my shop and I was looking around for a scrap piece of wood. Well, there's no such thing as a scrap piece of wood, right? So I saw this piece off in the corner and it was a piece of Spectraply. So I'm like, ooh, that'll make a nice little hollow form with a walnut collar. So I did this one out of Spectraply, yellow and blue Spectraply, with a walnut top. And in that one, I did 5 inlaid dots. So a fun little project. And that's what I've been doing this week. And I'll get into the demo if we don't have any more show and tell. I just wanted to do the show and tell before my demo, so these don't get all covered in dust and whatnot.
Floor is yours.
He has a demo coming up this weekend, folks. The information's in our chat, and our chat is wide open for that type of information because we do not do commercials. We're not sponsored. We're not married. We're just dating. So, but Kade does some fantastic demonstrations. Check it out at kadebolger.com, and you'll see he'll give you a preview and show you the demos of the pieces for it. And you can find some of that also on Facebook. Kade's pretty good about posting up that. Kade, you're still up, sir, whenever you're ready.
All righty. I'll just fix this camera so I have my extra monitor so I can see, make sure my big head doesn't get in the way. And yeah, so we're good to go. I'll set my timer too so I don't go too long here. It's a fairly quick demo. well, quick for me. My demos are usually very in-depth and a little lengthy, but I shortened it quite a bit for this demo. So today we're going to do a pair of hair sticks, but I'm also going to do a double dye technique. Paul last week, he talked about double dyeing or triple dyeing or quadruple dyeing his bowls. I also use that technique in hair sticks and finials to make quilted figured wood really pop. Now, the examples of the hair sticks I'm going to show you, I turned yesterday and today. So they're a matte finish, and the chatoyance between the different colors don't really pop just yet. But I have a finished one right behind my curtain here that I can show you. When you really make that piece pop and shine, give it a shiny finish, it really makes that chatoyance and all those layered colors really pop, okay? So here is one I did in, here, I'll show it on this camera, much better camera. So this one I did the same wood I'm using today, and I did a red and a yellow dye, and then red and yellow make orange. And when you sand that back with the different layers, you get a flame or a fire effect. And that's what it will really look like when you put a sheen on it. Now this is a decorative box out of roasted ash for the base, and the lid is bird's eye maple, and the finial is quilted figured maple, okay? So we're gonna go through that double dye technique today, as well as duplication, trying to make something the likeness of and make the match. So it is a good skill builder. So these are the ones I did today. These are out of acacia. They're not colored. Now these ones I did before the meeting, and I did these in blue and red. Now when I put finish on these, they'll really pop. But for now, you can see the different colors between the two. Camera doesn't really do it justice with that, but we'll go through that technique. Here's one I did 4 dyes.
What are the woods on those, Kade?
These are quilted, figured, soft maple.
Thank you.
Yep.
Soft maple is box elder, is Manitoba maple, right?
Yep.
Okay,
yep.
Thanks.
Now, these are 4 times dyed. Now, when you do these, you always start with the darkest color. So this started with green. I sanded it back, and then I did blue, and then I sanded it back, and then I did red, and then I sanded it back, and then I did yellow. So when you look at these and you see all the different layers of color with the chatoyance of the wood, it really allows it to pop when it hits the light, but even more so when you have a shiny finish on it, okay? And then this is the one I did the day before, which is the exact same as that finial. So we have red and yellow, and I like doing this combination probably the best because it gives you sort of a fire effect, okay? Now you need to play with colors, play with it a bit, see what colors work. Maybe we could see that. No, can't really see it all that well there. But anyway, we'll see it as the die comes through. So we'll do a hair stick, and we'll do the duplication for the design, and then we'll go through the double dyeing technique. Now, when you make hair sticks, you can make them many different sizes, many different colors, many different woods, or combinations of woods and different designs. Now, these are Padauk, walnut, cherry, ash, beech, and spectroply of variations. And and you want to make the design the likeness of the other one. Now, it doesn't have to be perfect. It has to be the likeness of, because again, the general public won't pick it apart like your wood turning buddies will. But it's a good skill builder to build upon to give you that really good precise technique of duplicating. Okay. Now, when I prepare these materials, it all depends on the size of the hair. Okay. Take care, Andy. Yeah, it all depends on the size of the hair. So the shorter the hair stick, the shorter the hair. Okay. So the shortest hair stick I make is about 4.5 inches long. The longer the hair, the longer the stick. Now, the longest sticks I make are about 8 inches in length. But keep in mind, the longer you go, the thinner you go, the more of a whipping action you're going to get in the center. Okay? So the shorter you go, it's going to be easier for you, and you're going to get less whipping in the center. So depending on your skill level or confidence, just choose accordingly. You can make them any sort of size, but the smaller ones, you'll have a higher success rate than the longer ones because of the whipping and the movement of the wood in the center as we relieve the support on the either end by going thin. Okay? So the one I'm going to do for you today is an 8-inch. Now, this is quilted curly figured maple. You can see the curl in there as the light hits it right there. You can see the stripes going across the wood, and that's what gives you the different depths and the chatoyance in the wood, which make all those colors pop. This is walnut, more quilted maple, regular maple, roasted ash, acacia, and these are spectraply. Now, if you happen to break one of the two and you no longer have a pair, that's okay. Keep the one that broke and the other one that broke, and you can actually make ones that are two types of wood. So I think I have one here. I just got to find the matching one. So I did one a while back, and I think I had one of the poplar break and one of the spectraply break. So I took the spectraplies and I made the tops, and I used the other wood for the base to give you a color contrast. So it's not necessarily a mistake, it's a design opportunity, okay? You can still use those pieces no matter how big or how small they are, okay? Now, when you make these and you're going very thin, you want to make sure you're doing slicing cuts. You want to cut the wood. You don't want to scrape the wood. Also, when I prepare these materials, you can prepare them in many different thicknesses. It depends on your skill level and your comfort level. So the thicker the blank, the more stability you'll have in between centers until you get down to that very, very thin, okay? The thinner the blank, you're going to get many more objects out of that material, and there'll be less wood on the floor, okay? So I do a bit of both depending on the wood and the material I have. These were originally cut to 1 inch square, and then I ripped them on the bandsaw, and now they're 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch square by 8 inch long, okay? And I number them. Whenever I cut these, I number them. So this blank goes with this blank because it's 6 and 6, okay? Second thing we do is we always find our centers on either side. Okay. Now, one thing you want to keep in mind, the softer the wood, the easier it is to break as you get that whipping around. But on the contrary, also, the harder the wood, sometimes the thinner it goes, the more brittle it becomes. So you can see I'm using a safety cup drive here, and I have removed my pin from my live center. Now it's not so bad with soft maple. I could use my spur drive because maple is soft enough to be able to take that pin within that wood without allowing it to split. Now, if I tried to do that with the roasted ash or acacia, it's so hard that as that point penetrates into the wood, it's going to split those fibers, okay? So I did a couple acacia ones today, and when I tried to do it with this, it split them. So my 8-inch blank became 7-inch blank, so I get a 6.5-inch hair stick out of it. Because you have to take into account, you're gonna lose roughly a 1/4 inch or a 1/2 inch on either side because we do not want to hit these with our turning tools, okay? They'll dull our tools and they'll ruin these as well, okay? So I use a safety cup drive. You can use it for both hard and soft woods. And also you can set that pin to protrude different lengths so it enters into the wood at different lengths, less likely to split that wood as you put it between centers, okay? So the crucial point I need to find center is on my tailstock. And I just eyeball that. And the center on this side, I only have a cup. So I need to eyeball that square centered within that cup. I check it. I see that it's centered. I turn it. I see that it's centered. And that's as good as it gets. Okay? Lock your tailstock down. Tighten your quill so you have ample contact by that cup because that's what's going to drive this piece of wood. Now you don't want to reef down on that and really tighten this because with this being so thin, we can see it already flexes on us. If that flexes on you, you're going to have far more whipping in the center. And if you get a catch in the center, this is going to snap like a twig, okay? And that is also why when we make these, you always want to be cutting at center or slightly above because we're doing slicing cuts. If I drop my bevel and I become lower and I start scraping on that material, it's going to create a lot more drag and resistance, causing that to flex that much more. And guess what happens? This happens. Okay? So you don't necessarily want that, and that will happen because we're going so thin. Okay? Now, I keep my tool rest at the same height. If you wanted to change tool rest heights, you could. Now, my tool rest is below center, so when I am using my spindle roughing gouge, I am cutting at center or slightly above center, so I have slicing cuts, okay? Also, if you were really concerned about the angles and being above center, with your skew or your spindle gouge, once I reduce this diameter to 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 inch at the top and 1/8 of an inch at the bottom. You can also do it at 3/8 and 1/4 inch at the bottom, depending on the wood. Softer woods will flex more and are more likely to break, so I make them a little thicker. Thinner or harder woods are much more structurally sound, so I make them thinner, okay? So once I remove this diameter, I'm going to be at the right height to use my skew and my spindle gouge, so I never really need to move this anyway. And if I was slightly too low for my skew, all I do is I just raise it slightly and I present it so I am actually still riding at that 11 o'clock position in which we always use our skew, okay? So it's all about the tool presentation to the wood. The tool rest can be minimally higher or lower And you can do that so you don't have to constantly move this. You just concentrate on where the specific tool is being used and presented on that piece of wood, okay? So you can do these start to finish with your roughing gouge, or you can do them start to finish with your skew. I tend to do them start to finish with my roughing gouge, and then my final pass is with the skew to give me a nice finish, less sanding. All right, so let's make a mess. Now, safety, I would be wearing safety glasses, bare minimum with something this size. Depending on your experience level, I recommend a full face shield. Don't wear any rings, watches, bracelets that can pull you into the lathe, or sandals that your skew can fall off your bedway and go right into your foot. All right. Oh, I gotta turn my lathe on first. That might help. So we'll start on this camera. Now the first thing I do is, today I'm turning at 1700 RPMs. Okay? The first thing I want to do is I take my skew and I create a V-cut. I make an entry cut and I make a series of V-cuts. Now I do this because when I use my roughing gouge in between centers, that is my stopping point before I go metal on metal. And I do the same over here. Not quite tight enough. Now you don't want to go too thin because you want to have enough support there to withstand any flexing within the center. Okay. Then I take my roughing gouge. I'm just going to rough this round. Very light cuts. The moment you try and force it, that wood is going to flex on you. And also I have my roughing gouge on this side so I can go right into that corner without hitting that wood, and I can dimension my wood accordingly. Get in there with the corner. Now, if you start to feel that flexing on you, you need to take a lighter cut. And I am creating a natural taper to my tailstock. You want to get most of that taper done before you go too thin here or too thin here. And we'll double check my diameter with a pair of veneer calipers. So I am at 3/8 at the top, and I'm at 1/4 inch at the bottom. So I'm exactly at my dimensions where I want to be. I guess I've made a few hundred of these, so I can eyeball it. Okay? Now where I go from there is I want to define where the top is with my skew slicing, and I'll define where my base is. I can clean this up and round that edge slightly. Now I don't want to remove too much material there just yet because I still have to do all the detailing over here. Okay? So now we need to talk or think about our design. Now you can make them as simple or as complex as you like. You can make them like a chopstick style, which is very easy. You can make them in sort of a teardrop style, which is still fairly easy. Or you can do a finger bone type joint. Or you can do a bead with a finger bone. Now just keep in mind, the more complex design, the harder it is to get into all these details to sand them to get a consistent look of the double die. Now you don't want a consistent look, you want it to be more random. So we have reds, blues, whites, and all those different colors when it's shiny will really make that pop and stand out, okay? So I'll do something similar to this design on this one today. We can double check the length and pretty close. So I don't really measure them at first. Whatever I make the first one to, the second one will match, okay? So now before I go any further, I would lightly sand this. It's a soft maple, so it sands very quickly, even though we used our roughing gouge. Now this is 220. Now you need to sand these. If you don't sand these, the die is going to make a mess of your work. And if you neglect to go through the grits, all those scratches will also be amplified by the dye. So whenever you dye or color stuff, just like if you have a shiny finish, it's going to show up all the flaws within your work. If you have a matte finish, it will hide all those flaws within your work. Double check. You can also sand with the grain if you're really inclined to. But on these hair sticks, I don't. I only sand what I just sanded. Maybe 30 seconds or 40 seconds, and I'm done. If you're really worried about scratches, you can go up to a finer grit. This is 320. And you can go as high as 400 if you like. But if there's a minuscule scratch in there with a different dye color, I mean, it's all going to be random and blend in with the chatoyance of the wood. So no one's going to see that except your wood turning buddies. Now I take out my ruler and I map out my design. So in the purple one, I did it in 1 inch. So my inch increment is right here, and my 1/4 inch increment is right there. So the 1/4 inch is my sphere, and the 3/4 inch is my finger bone. Now I take my skew, I make an entry cut, and an entry cut, and I create a 1/2 bead here. I create 1/2 bead right there, and I just blend the connection. Okay. Now I do the same here, but in order to get around that corner, I need to remove some of this square to allow my skew to get in there so I can get around that corner. So I come back here with 1/2 bead. I come back this way with 1/2 bead. Clean it up again with the join. There we are. And then I create the top of my sphere right there. Come back and clean this up so it matches. There. And at that point, I would also do a little bit of sanding on that spot, just on these joins, so I don't have to touch them again on the curves. Now you don't want to push too hard because this will snap like a twig. Okay, now that's sufficient enough. Now I grab my spindle gouge or my detail gouge. It's the same thing. Some people may have different grinds on them, but they're really the same thing. And I start with a small cove. Working my way back on either end. Light cuts. Always cutting downhill and blending in the bottom of our hill. Okay? Now you can see I checked that back here in a trailing mode. I don't recommend checking it here because if my tool rest was closer, I could get caught in between the wood and the tool rest. Now the tool rest will cut, the wood will burn. Ask me how I know. I saw a video on
How do you know?
I would never try that. Now I have my hair stick turned. I have all the design elements in it. And now all I need to do is just lightly sand it. The next one I do, I'll have that white background for you. Now I'm just going to sand the bottom of my cove. Everything else I sanded already. I didn't sand this little corner yet. Okay. Now I just reduce the diameter here and the diameter here, closer to about a 1/16 of an inch. Because when I part this off, I don't want too much of a different color on the tip and the top of my hair stick. Here we are. Up and around that corner. And there we are. Now I have a 1/16 on each holding that on the lathe. So do not put too much pressure on that piece. Otherwise, it will snap like a twig. Okay, now we can have some fun and play with some color. Well, I'm going to change my mat to this lovely color-coded piece. So my nice stainless steel bedway stays nice and stainless steel rather than colored like a kid's coloring book. And I grab my dies. So what do we want to do? Do we want to do the fire one? Do we want to do the, I think the fire one shows up best on camera. So we'll go with that one.
Set it on fire, Kade. Set it on fire.
And bring on the fire. Now there's many different types of stains on the market. You can use chestnut spirit stains. You can use trans tint dyes. You can use Hampshire sheen dyes. You can use craft supply dyes. They really all work the same as long as they're alcohol based, mineral spirit based, or denatured alcohol based. You can get them in water based. You can also get them in colors that you mix yourself. Now, I don't like water based because the water base will raise the grain and give you a fuzzy finish where you'll have to sand that back. And we can't do that with dyes because it will alter the color in the dye that we're trying to get within that effect. So I like alcohol dyes. And I also don't like the powdered dyes that you mix yourself because I want repeatability. So I use them straight out of the can so I get the same color every time. Now you can dilute these as long as you use a solvent that is compatible with the dye that you're using. The only thing is if we're ever to dilute these, they never go back in this container because again, I want repeatability. Okay? I would keep that in a separate container and label it accordingly. Now, whenever you do the double dye technique, you always start with the darkest color. So for instance, in this one, I started with the green, and then I did baby blue, and then I did red, and then I did yellow. Oh, there you can see some of the different reds and yellows and greens and blues. With the purple, blue, and red one, I started with the blue and I put the red over top. So in this instance, we start with the red and we put the yellow over top. Now, if you want, you can wear gloves. You can use a rag, or you can use, excuse me, you can use paintbrushes. Yeah, you can use it across the board for staining pens, bowls, finials, boxes, anything with figured wood. Or even if it's plain Jane boring grain, you can also spice it up with a little bit of color.
Look at that pop.
Now we can really start to see that chatoyance coming through as the red is absorbed at different rates within the harder and softer grain. Now, if you wanted, you could leave it at that, which gives a really cool striking effect, okay, with the red and the lighter red. But if you want to do a two-tone color, you can. Now I turn my lathe on for maybe 30 seconds, let that dry a little bit. And then I take 320 sandpaper and I sand this back. Now I'm going to sand this randomly so I keep some of the red and darker spots, but also I have lighter spots, and I sand away some of that curl so that will really pop when it takes the yellow. Okay? I would wear a respirator whenever I sand, especially when I have dyes and pigments because you don't know what's in them. For now, I'm just holding my breath. Now you can see it makes a mess of your sandpaper. So you're going to go through a couple pieces of sandpaper. You're going to need to fold it to get into those corners. And around those design elements. So when you have a more complex design, it's going to be a lot more finicky within the sanding. And just take your time because we don't want too much pressure, because that tiny little 1/16 of an inch that's holding this piece on the lathe on either side will snap like a twig. Need a new piece. You can stabilize it with your hand if you want to be a little more aggressive with the sanding. Leave a little bit more in places so you have the irregularity. Now let's take a peek at that. Now you can see we sanded the softer parts or that chatoyance came away. So now that is going to absorb much more of that yellow and allow that to really pop. Now I don't have much white up here just yet, so I might do a little more sanding there. Woohoo, almost caught that, and you saw that flex? All right, that's good enough for sanding. You can sand as much as you like or as little as you like. And you can add as many colors as you like. Just start with the darkest one and work your way up to the lightest one. Now I'm going to attach the yellow. Now, when I first apply this and it's wet, that's what it'll look like with the finish on it. So it'll really pop. But as it dries, it will become duller until you put that shiny finish on it. Yeah. See that yellow really come through?
Get the fire extinguisher. We got problems.
See, what would Paris Hilton say?
It's on fire.
That's hot.
Who's Paris Hilton?
Yeah, that's what I want to know. Is that Bob Hilton's daughter or what?
Is he a wood turner?
Yeah, I believe it's the Hilton hotel chain.
Yeah, I know. I'm teasing.
There we go. So now we have our piece that is double dyed. And that chatoyance really makes those two colors pop. Now all I need to do is I need to part this off here and catch it as it comes off the lathe.
That's spectacular, Kade.
Yeah, it looks great, don't it?
Just imagine what you can play with, guys, gals. Imagine what you can play with.
I'll start with a small little cut here. Now I'm at probably a 32nd. And then over here, I'll come down and just get that piece. Now I'm at a 32nd. I snap this off across the grain so it severs above the surface rather than an innie, it's an outie. I do the same here. And then I take my 400 or 320, whatever you like, and I just sand that, and I blend the curve of that sphere. Okay? Now you don't need much because there was only roughly a 16th or 32nd holding it on. There we are. And then rather than trying to double dye that, I just make that pinhole on the top yellow, and the pin on the top, or the pin on the bottom yellow, and the pin on the top yellow. And there is our first hair stick with the double dye technique. Now we're going to duplicate that with this blank. Any questions?
How are you finishing that after? Are you just spraying it with lacquer?
You can do it many different ways. You can spray it with lacquer if you have a way to hold it, or position it to spray it. I don't spray it with a lacquer. My first few coats will be a coat of thinned tung oil, which I'll do after I'm done this one. It's thinned 50-50 with mineral spirits, and I do a couple coats on that until I build it up to a sheen that I desire. Now eventually I'll hold this with a string, and I'll put the oil on here until I get the sheen that I desire, and then I'll put a slip knot over here and hold it while I bring this sheen to match. Now you could do that with lacquer and hang it and spray it and then hold it and spray it. It would be a quicker solution. Or you could use polys, verethanes, any finish within a sprayer. Whatever your preference of finish is. Okay. Just tight enough to drive it, not tight enough to bow it.
Okay, you could also finish it while you still had those little knobs on the end, so you had something to hold it with.
Yeah, you could. You could
And
finish it and
then-
apply your
and then
finish or spray it right on the lathe. I just don't want lacquer and finishes all over my lathe.
Well, I'm saying if you didn't break and those ends off, that would give you something to hold it with to finish it. And then you're going to cut them off and put your color on and just a little dab of finish or something that wouldn't show later anyway.
Oh, yeah, that would be, yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, thanks, Trey. Never really thought of that. I'll have to try that. And then you could hold it here and spray the whole piece and then just pop off that little hair, sand it, and even put super glue on the tips to match the sheen. Again, the first thing I start with is my entry cut, my V cut. There we are. My entry cut, my V cut. See those nice ribbons? That's what you want. Slicing, cutting, not sawdust. Sawdust, you're scraping. Now you can also angle your spindle roughing gouge as well to give you a skew type finish. I'm almost at my dimension. Little bump here. Get that out and blend that taper. We'll double check that. Yeah, I'm at 3/8 at the top. And I'm at 1/4 at the bottom. Now I just double check to make sure this is the same length. And I'm close. I need to bring this out maybe a 1/16. So I'll take my skew and I'll create that just a little longer. I'll taper that around that edge. Now, if you're feeling lucky and brave, you can go across this surface with your skew. But you have to make sure you're at that angle and you're cutting with the skew. I use my hand to stabilize this as well, just in case I do not present it correctly. And that will give you a really nice finish. Straight off your tool. But I still like to sand just to get those inconsistencies out of there. Okay? I want to define this a little better first. There we are. Move your tool rest whenever you sand. You can also stabilize it if you want to be a little more heavy-handed to sand a little quicker. But you got to be careful. Especially with soft maple. It's not as strong as your hardwoods. And it will snap if I miscalculate my presentation of the tool or the pressure that I am sanding with. A little bit of a groove there, so I'm supporting it so I can give a little bit more pressure there to sand that out. And that might have been a groove within the soft part of the maple, or it could be anything. In the wood, it could have been a mistake I made, it could have been anything. Here's 320. And there is the extent of my sanding. Now I grab my ruler again and I map out my 1 inch and my 1/4 inch. There we are. Grab my skew again. Make my entry cut and my entry cut. I create a half a bead. I create, where'd my little whiteboard go here? Create half a bead. Come back, just clean that up ever so slightly. There we are. Half a bead here. I need to remove some material so I can get my skew in there. Half a bead here. And the other half of my bead. Right there. Just gonna clean this up a hair. Go a little deeper to define that sphere. There. There. Now I have my sphere and the start of my finger bone. Just sand those cuts I made for the half beads and my sphere. There we are. Your fingers are your best calipers and your best tool to see if there is any tear out or any unsanded parts of the wood. Now I did not slow the speed of my lathe down because I make these in a production mode, and production turners rarely slow the speed of their machine down. But with good tool control and slicing cuts, you have very little sanding. Okay? So you can sand at a higher speed. If it was a hobby and I was sanding, I would sand in between 200 and 300 RPMs. You actually remove more material at a slower speed. Okay? Come back in, and I'm going to create the small little finger bone. I'm going to double check to see how my design is looking. Pretty good, a little bigger than this one here, but not by much. Yeah, not by much at all. Very minuscule, so it would only be my wood turning buddies who would notice that.
If they're young.
Say again, please.
I said, if they're young, they'll notice it.
Yeah, that's right. If it's in the hair of a beautiful woman, you'll never know it.
There we go. Grab my 320 again, and I just need to sand that portion on the opposite side of my tool rest. Curve it around your finger because I do not want to round these corners too much because it will destroy the elements of my detail.
Kade, I think you should have warned us that we were going to need breathing machines. I've been holding my breath most of the time here.
Oh, ye of little faith. Oh, ye of little faith.
All right.
Well, I have faith in Kade. I haven't got faith in myself with that diameter.
I'll reduce this diameter a bit. That's pretty good. That's pretty, a little bit more. There we are. There. Final bit of sanding here. Final bit of sanding here. And we're good to play with some color. There we are. We'll start out with our red again. There's our red. We'll turn it on for a sec. Let that dry a little bit. Don't open your mouth just in case it sprays. But it's pretty good at absorbing. The stuff absorbs very quickly. I'll grab, I think last time I used 3 pieces.
Okay, Dave, hold your breath, Dave. Here it comes.
Ah, I've got it all over my screen.
You got to be outside of the line of fire.
When he was applying the dyes, do you have to clean your brush after you apply the dyes, or do they dye in the brush and not mess the brush up for later use again with that same color of dye?
Our spot here, a little too red. There we are. Gonna take some more off of here.
Whoever was asking about the dye, I have found that alcohol-based dyes, you don't lose the applicator if you just wipe it off a little bit.
So just kind of wipe out any excess and it doesn't mess up the bristles then.
Correct.
That's
I
nice.
usually apply it with paper towel. I just use paper
One
towel.
more for good luck.
That's what I have done in the past, but it sure was nice the way Kade was applying the dye with the brush here.
I used to use paper towel, and then I've switched to using the brush, and I get better results with a brush.
There we go.
People don't think I have a skin
No,
disease.
A little too red here still. So I'll take a tiny bit more off. And I'll add my yellow. Now you can wipe these off, which is a good idea to do.
It looks like it turned.
Now it'll really pop. And they're all going to be different because each piece of wood will have a different amount of chatoyance in it.
And now you're leaving that red thing in the cap. Tell me about that. How does that working that you're doing that?
Pardon?
That red thing inside the bottle of the chestnut spirit stain?
Yeah, that is an inner cap to the bottle. So if I drop the bottle, the finish doesn't go everywhere. Now, you can pop that out and you can have this open, but if I knocked it off my table, my whole floor and my whole lathe would be yellow. So
Right,
what
so
I
how are you
did was I made a small little hole. We can see in there, I made a small little hole. So all I need to do is turn this upright, squeeze it a little bit, and I get just enough dye. And if I put it down and if it falls off my bedway, it's not emptying the container.
That's a great idea. Thank you. That's amazing. Wow.
And the reason I started doing that was because I had a demo and I was using my red. And if I tilt my camera back here a little bit, we can see all this red here. I was cleaning up after a demo one day, and I had my bottle here, and I was cleaning up, and I grabbed it to put the cap on it, and I bumbled it and grabbed it, and my hands were covered in red. My floor was covered in red. I went upstairs to wash my hands, and my wife almost had a heart attack. She thought it was blood all over my hands and blood all over the floor of my lathe room, so I had to clean that up quite quickly.
Not a fun day.
No, it was a little humorous, but she didn't find it too funny.
Right.
So now all I need to do is part this guy off, or like Trey said, you could leave those points on there, hang it, spray it, and then take it off afterwards.
Trace, Kade, the one on the right side looks like it has moved.
This looked like it moved slightly.
The other side looks like it moved out of line.
It's still running fairly true.
I just might have twisted the fibers.
I actually think this is still attached slightly, but very minusculely. Just because when I was applying the finish here, I think I grabbed it and might have twisted the fibers a bit, but it's still holding and driving for me. No, see, it released there, but that's okay. It still held itself on the lathe. Break this guy off. I sand that flush. There we are. I'll sand this guy.
Really, if you have one end that's still got the cap on it, you could use Trace's ornament spraying rig that he has up in the shop. Hangs
There
things,
we are.
swings it out in
And
the
just
air.
take the existing yellow that's already on my paintbrush and put a dab there and a dab there. And we're done. Now we have two hair sticks that match, are very close in the likeness of, and they're double dyed. They make them really pop.
Great job, Kade.
Thank you.
Nice job. They
That
look
was-
wonderful.
Good demo.
Thanks, everyone. And when
demo,
that is
Kade.
shined up and all shiny, that whole hair stick will
I'd be
really
happy
pop.
to, I'd be happy to model those for you.
Oh,
Yeah.
a volunteer, sign her up.
Sure. So any questions?
No, sir. That was an awesome demonstration because you showed more than just turning two hairpins. You showed technique, finishing, sanding, holding, how to chuck something up, the whole works. That is a thorough demonstration and very much appreciated. And folks, if you want more of what Kade does, check our chat. He's put some information for a future project he has, and you can be part of this. And if you thought you were impressed by this, he has more time when he does his regular demos. See, we're putting a rush on him here. So, but thank you, sir. I think it was a fantastic demonstration.
Yeah,
Thanks.
good
Thanks,
job,
everyone.
Kade.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cade.
All right.
Thank you, Kade.
Thank you, Kade. Thank you, Kade.
Thanks, Kate. Excellent job, man.
Pleasure. Thanks, everyone.
Very, very nice. Kay, let me ask a question because I know I can ask you. I don't want to ask some of these other people, but I would have done it and put it in a chuck instead of between centers, and had and brought the center up on the tailstock side, but I would have driven it with a chuck to reduce flexing.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah,
I
you
may have
can do it.
I would have wasted about an inch of material chucking it, but
And you would have wasted an extra probably 3 to 5 minutes in fussing around with chucking it and taking it out of the chuck or setting it up.
well, I would have just put it in the square section of the chuck. I would have just put it in the chuck squared and then brought the tailstock up to the center of the end of it. So
Okay. So an extra minute or two.
I would, I wouldn't have done it with it running, but basically I would have just stuck the square end into the chuck and tightened down on it and held it with the tailstock.
You talking
Hey.
like pin jaws, Trey?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
could do it with these guys, these little spigot jaws or
Yep,
pen
yep.
drilling jaws, and that square
Yep.
stock would fit perfectly right within there.
Yep.
And that would work. Yep. That would
Yep.
totally work. But what I do with these guys, since I'm using the safety cup drive, is I don't even stop my lathe.
Okay.
So I would take, here, I'll throw my glasses on and I'll show you how I would put a piece on and continue turning.
Yeah, I understand that concept because I do a lot of my ornaments that way. The same way I don't stop the lathe in between.
And you would have to use the safety cup drive to do that, though. You wouldn't be able to use a spur drive because it might get launched across the room. So if this is running, I would just take my other one with my center hole, stick that in there like that. Oh, I got to move this back here.
And you can do the same thing with a step drive too.
I would hold that there, and I would bring this up, and then let go.
72 different ways to do the same thing.
Yep.
And that's why we do this club meeting.
That's pretty cool.
And then I'd
Yeah,
be right off to turn in this one.
Yeah, I turn my snowmen and stuff between a stub drive and a spur and the other, and that and I don't stop the lathe in between it.
Okay, thank you, Kate, again. This is a fantastic demonstration. We look for technique because if you say, well, what the dimensions, that's very unimportant. What you see are the dimensions you should work to, but the technique that Kate showed us, you saw him do slicing cuts with his roughing gouge. Bad name for a tool, but it's not a roughing gouge. But he made slicing cuts. He took that piece down to where he could sand it from the roughing gouge. And that's when you know how to drive those tools and make those slices. And if you're a new turner and you're not certain about how to do those slices, bring the speed of that lathe as low as you can, or have your friend turn it for you, and then make that cut. It doesn't matter how fast it's gone. It matters on how sharp that tool is and how you present it to the wood to make that cut. That's all there is. Thanks again, Kade. You did a great demonstration. We really appreciate it, sir. Folks, if you want to be a part of this demonstration program, all you have to do is put it in the chat, and Dane takes care of lining them up, put them in line. I mean, we just nailed Kane Dade to do a demonstration. And who else? We got Joaquin, and I have a list going here. We don't miss a chance. Who do we have now? We're going to go back to gallery, but first, let me ask something of members, because we're all equal, right? We're all in the same boat. I'm looking for a member who would do screen grabs of the demonstration so we could use it for newsletter and promotions and things like that. Talking screen grab, on my Mac right now, if I go Shift Command 3, I'll catch what my screen sees. If I go Shift Command 4, I could zoom in and get a closer fit. I did that all throughout Kade's demonstration just now. And I'm using some of this for an article we're doing on the newsletter for about the laser deals, the setups and options and ideas that our members are coming up with. So I'm looking for a member who will do the screen grabs and then send them on to me. Would very much appreciate it. If you're interested, put it in the chat. I'll read the chat tomorrow. Yeah, I'll save it. And we will use that information. We'll contact you and see if we make a deal, work it all out. And remember, the pay is awesome. Really, no tax problems, nothing. Okay, we're going to go back to gallery. It's we've got about 20 minutes to wrap it up, folks. If you got something to show, pop in here, throw it in the chat, say I got something to show, and then Dane's going to introduce you. Let's go back to Dane.
Well, at the moment, we don't have anyone up, Eddie.
Oh,
but you know what? Go ahead. Who is this?
I thought we had a couple of, but that's okay.
No, we've already gone through.
Hey, Dane.
Yeah.
This is Dean. Got in a little late tonight, but I've got something I can share with you guys.
Gotcha.
All righty. Turned a hummingbird house.
Oh,
Condo.
we might be able to get a Bob approval.
You're the man,
Yeah.
Dane.
Now the reality is, from what I've learned, hummingbirds don't live in houses.
No.
But
they build a nice little nest.
You're a free spirit.
somebody called me up and said, "Can you make a hummingbird house?" And I went, "Oh, well, of course I can. What does it look like?"
Pile of grass on a branch.
Exactly. So this is my interpretation of a picture they sent me for a hummingbird house.
What is the material, sir?
Very nice. Yeah.
This is spalted hackberry on the bottom, and
Nice.
it Paducah on top.
Nice. What's the stem?
The stem is just a piece of dowel that was there.
Oh, cool.
I just clipped a piece of dowel and used it for the.
That looks great. With the presentation or where you have the stem coming out of, it looks like it's part of that spalted line with the brown that goes through the center of that hole.
Right.
So it actually looks like the same wood, or I would have thought like a maple of some sort or something, but that looks really cool.
It was fun to do. This is a friend of mine that had wanted one. Undoubtedly, there's a lot of people make hummingbird houses. And I had never heard of one, but anyway, that was my rendition.
You did
Right
a
on.
good job with that.
Good.
Thank you, sir.
Then I watched your video on that, Dean, and your audio I found to be of lesser quality than your prior videos.
Really, because see, on my, what I was trying to do is on that trend air shield, the fan is so loud. But I think I need to just turn my audio or turn my mic down. What did you hear?
It was more muffled.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, you need to use David's plan. Just hold your breath.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't get the turn long, but you get the turn.
Exactly. I'll tell you what, the audio is progress for me.
All right. I have
I know what you mean.
Thank you, Dean. Before we go
Thanks,
to the
Captain.
next gallery, you have a question on the chat. Steve wants to know, it's a beginner's question or a novice question. From experienced club tournaments, we're going to go to you guys or gals regarding drilling a hole in a spindle. Stephen, you want to explain what you're asking? You can jump right on here, press mute.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We got you.
Yep.
Wait till you get me on the screen.
All right, we're gonna
Gotcha.
There we go.
There you are.
As some of you might recall, my wife is into spinning with spinning wheels, and she's asked me to make a distaff for her spinning wheel, and that's basically it's got like a cage where you put your fiber in, and one part goes into your spinning wheel, and it's got a horizontal member and then a vertical member, and this is where the fiber goes like that. Now I want to turn these spindles, but I have a question as far as drilling the hole. Should I drill that when it's square before I turn it?
Yes.
So I know that it's perpendicular to the axis.
Yes.
Yes.
Will I get tear out when I turn?
Not if you're slicing. If you're scraping, you will get tear out.
Exactly.
Okay.
And you can clean it up with sanding.
Yep, you can. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't want to have
do
big chunks of on the off side of it, from tearing out.
No,
So-
unless you're pushing straight in and scraping, then you should be fine as long as you're getting a good slicing cut.
As long as you're slicing, you got a good sharp tool, you shouldn't have a problem with that.
Because I like to do it when it's square before I turn it, so I know that it's absolutely perpendicular to the axis.
And
Because
perfectly
when
centered.
you stand it up, you don't want it to be canted down or up. It's got to be horizontal.
Then you got to make sure you're able to mount it perfectly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You'll want perfectly square stock, and you want to find the center, so you drill that perfectly centered, and then you'll have perfect centers on the end too. So when you turn it, that hole is going to be perfectly centered and perfectly square the way you drilled it on your drill press.
Right. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
You're quite welcome. That's why we're here, sir. And if you got any questions, you can throw them in the chat, but I'd like to go look more gallery. We got a few more minutes.
Yeah,
I know you have one, Dane. I know you have.
We got Joaquin up.
Oh man, this is trouble.
Joaquin.
This is trouble.
Hey,
Oh,
Joaquin.
A couple of Wednesdays back, I showed this live oak bow, and we talked about it. I'd put the walnut oil on it, and it swelled over in the end grain and opened up. And like some of y'all said, just let it set for a week and it'll close up. And it did. And I sanded it with 600 like Kade told me to. And I just put brush on lacquer. I used a 50/50 lacquer and to soak it in. And then it was polished, and I used that Hunt's Ultra Shine on it to get the shine out of it. And so that ended up turning out well.
That's very nice. Nice finish.
Yeah. Kind of like a good steak. It's got to relax to bring the juices back in.
Yeah, and I did another piece, and it was just soaking wet with the oil. And when I went to turn it, oil slung out of it, and so it's real porous. But on the hummingbird houses that was shared earlier, when I was up at Ron Campbell's hands-on last June, there was a guy there, Jerry Niedermeyer, out of Georgia. He makes hundreds of those. And this is one that he made. And he does that to where he puts a drop on there and blows it around with his air gun, airbrush. But he makes these by the hundreds, and he sells them on the Georgia State Magazine. And you know that story about, hummingbirds don't live in house. He says, well, he's got a picture of a lizard here. And he said, well, the Geico man was in mine and said, it's okay. This is one that he made. And of course, I took his class because it's so interesting. And I have this one here. And, but he's got a process that's unbelievable, how he makes them 100 at a time or more. But anyway, that's all I got, guys.
Thank you, Joaquin.
Very
Thank
nice,
you.
Joaquin.
Very nice.
Did you ever turn any of that Michigan wood, Joaquin?
Not yet. No.
Joaquin came up from South Texas and he brought a pickup truck full of mesquite and he traded it for all our wood from up here. So it was good fun.
Yeah, I've got one cherry burl out there I got my eye on that you give me. I got to get that turned.
Yep. I loaded some up because he told me he was doing it. So
It'll all be a lot softer than that mesquite, though, so it'll just cut like butter for you.
Yeah.
True story.
I hope we get to have it again this year. That's a real fun project.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you and everybody else. It's that'll be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Let me ask a general question on mesquite. My tools seem to go very, very quickly when I'm cutting mesquite. Is that normal?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's full of sand and silica.
Yeah, it's got silicon in it.
Yeah, that old saying, when you think it's dull, it's already too late. You should already sharpen it.
Yeah, just doing a little top for a birdhouse. It's I have to sharpen it at least twice to get that done.
Yeah.
Mimosa is worse, Trey.
I don't like mimosa anyway. It's stringy.
It sands real good. It's brittle, but it really sands well.
Yep.
It's the cutting that got to get there.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. Good turning tonight. Here's all evening we've been talking about turning and ideas and programs, etc. And it's been really nice to chat with everybody and see what they're doing. Earlier, Dave Rhodes, the first sergeant, showed us some pens that Gary made. Gary wasn't with us at the time. Hi, Gary. I know you're in a meeting tonight.
Yes, sir.
But Gary and several others have turned Freedom pens. Freedom pens are pens when you turn the pens and you send them one of our contacts and they put them in the hands of actual troops. We have a Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, and I think Space Force. We have contacts for all of them. And if you would like to donate a Freedom pen, and it's a simple, easy project that is be greatly appreciated by the recipient. All you have to do is go to our website and find a contact about Freedom pens.
Yes, you're my boy.
And turn your pen and make it today, because it's opposite matters. It was, and in fact, I enjoyed one pen, and that was 2003. Sergeant Joe Kettling the program. So if you want to get involved, get involved. Is that the first sergeant right there?
Yeah, I'm
There's-
here. You were breaking up a little bit.
Go ahead, sir.
I was just saying that you were breaking up a little bit, but did I hear you say Gary's on?
Yes,
Yeah.
he is.
Hey, Gary, thank you very much for sending those pens.
Gary was here,
Now.
yes.
Hey, Doug, do you want dark colored pens, or I sent you, I think, a light colored one? Or you want the darker ones, or does it matter?
It doesn't matter. They are all awesome. Any shape, any size. It's the Army, so don't send blue ink. That's for the Air Force teasing. You can send anything. They all are very, very appreciated. I've had so many different shapes and sizes sent. I even had some sent to me that I don't know how this turner made them, but they were long. They had to be over over 12 inches long with a big knob on the end. And what we did was we wound up putting them on one of the counters, just like you have when you go into the doctor's office and they make the flowers so people don't walk away with them. We did that in one of our admin offices where people have to go in and sign stuff all the time. So we always find a way to make it work. But those ones that you sent, they're the slim fit ones or whatever you call that. They slide right in the pockets. They're all going to be very well received. So
That's good. That's good.
And while you're got me spotlight, guys, I was going to throw resin in the bottom of that 3-point bowl. So I used the Lumalite, and it's all. I mean, it's not hard enough to put back on the lathe yet, but it's pretty hard already. Got a little sides. So a Lumalite hates moisture. If you don't know that, please know that a Lumalite hates moisture. And even though this was dried construction lumber, the Lumalite still said, "I'm going to give you some foaminess on the sides," and that was in a pressure.
Wow.
So,
Are you glue a glue block onto the back side of that, Doug?
so with this one, I don't know. I might do a glue block. I might just use a Forstner bit and put a mortise in there again, just to clean up the inside. And then where I taped it, or not taped, but glued the crack back together, it's not flush anymore. So I'm probably going to turn the outside. I left it pretty thick just because of how brittle the thing was from the beginning. So I've got some room to play with in there. But it'll be
cool.
Beautiful.
That'll look really good with the gold. It'll accent the wood grain and make it all pop.
I was playing around with the different colors that I had, and that's why I decided to go with that yellowy gold in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then
thank you,
if
Sarge.
Show me one more time. I'm gonna show you one more time. I know a lot of you have seen me make these, but in case there's anybody that hasn't seen me make these, I make candy bowls around Valentine's Day out of candy. So
that's cool. Sweetheart.
yeah, that's the Brock's candy hearts in resin. And
that's
then
cool.
That's
turn
cool.
into whatever shaped candy bowl you want.
So once you cut it, do you recoat it with epoxy just so the sugar isn't?
I usually just do CA glue, but I have seen other people do it where they'll paint the resin back on there. But I just usually use CA glue, and then after the CA glue, throw a lacquer on there and call it good.
That's cool.
Nice
Never
idea.
seen
Yeah,
that before.
definitely. Let me see if I can find one where I cut into the candy. I guess I kind of stayed above it pretty well. There's got to be at least one where I hit some candy. There you go.
Right
I don't
there,
know.
the purple one.
Yeah, you can see. So it kind of changes colors on you a little bit, and that's how you know you're kind of touching the sugar. Plus, it makes the shop really sweet smelling.
I bet.
And I got to keep the dogs away because the dogs want to lick up the sugar, but of course they get all the plastic from the resin. So got to keep them out of the shop when I'm messing with this stuff. But you get some decent colors to it sometimes too. The pinks and the greens and the blues.
Huh.
That'd be cool to keep.
Right now.
You should keep some of those shavings and recast them in a resin, and you'll have a multicolored shaving suspended in resin. That might be pretty cool.
That might be. I might save some of that and try that. Yeah.
An idea.
Hey, great demo tonight too. That was awesome.
Thanks.
It was an awesome demo. Thank you, First Sergeant. Appreciate that, folks. I've been very remiss tonight. I did not get the program I wanted to in one spot. So right now, if we could, we're going to mute out the audience or the membership. I want to show you the video gallery that we put together this week with photographs you sent to us at worldwidewoodturners@gmail.com. And here it is. And that's from the folks that sent, the members that sent us the photographs. If you'd like to do that, be part of next week's gallery, and we use these, or I use these to put them into the newsletter and promos, and they go to the website. And we use them on and on and on, because we're sharing with you some of the work of the finest wood turners in the entire world. Right there. Some of the finest wood turners in the entire world. No smoke. That's what I believe. All right, it's right about the top of 9 o'clock. I'm Captain Eddie Castellan. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us tonight. It's easy for me to say each week that you make my week. I think we make the week of a lot of members. We had 90-something folks here tonight, and we're geared for sharing information. And we're here, like I said, every week, and we receive information every day. So if you would share with us, join us, be part of the club, because this is your wood turning club. Now, right now, go over to the chat. Go to the chat section, and in the lower right-hand corner are 3 dots, and you click those 3 dots and you press Save Chat. The chat will be saved on your computer for you to use now or tomorrow, but our webmaster, our master webmaster, will add it to our website. So when you look for it later on, it'll be there, along with the video of all the demonstrations you've seen tonight and all the demonstrations that have been here for 865 days. So if you want to be part of the program, jump in. Until next week, I'm Captain Eddie Castellan. I gotta say, good night, John Boy. Who's that?
Night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Have a
Take
great
care.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night,
Cheerio.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Good night, everybody. Have a great week.